all of you so much for being here for the opening reception. I posted a link to the exhibition in the um, group chat, so you can kind of peruse while I do my little spiel, if you need something to look at during it. Um, and the inspirations for this project all came together at the perfect time. The title of this exhibition was actually inspired from a shirt that my friend sent to me. I feel like we are kind of counterpoints, queerly and religiously, where she um, is Christian, and I feel like we have a lot of in-depth conversations, but her Lutheran church sold this shirt that said, it was a pride shirt that said, "I am made in God's image." Um, I was just struck by how much of a beautiful sentiment that was, knowing that this is exactly how you were made and no one can take that away from you. I feel like a lot of queer people struggle with the intersection of faith and coming out. But seeing and hearing about people who have made space to joyfully have both in their lives is so beautiful and powerful. I had two people who really got the ball rolling with showing me their LGBTQ plus religious joy, Ken Swanson and Debbie Warren. I met both at a week-long ceramics workshop, and it offered a wonderful opportunity to hear the stories of older queer religious people. Debbie talked about her struggles with faith. She was a part of a clergy for a long time, but left when she couldn't deal with hiding her girlfriend anymore, while also dealing with her friends dying from AIDS in the 80s. She put her energy into RAIN, Regional AIDS Interfaith Network, an organization that she started to help connect and fill a community need that was terribly lacking. She just retired last year with her wife, and she's just sated with a lifetime of helping other queer people. Alongside that, I joined my first big girl temple after graduating from ASU and not going to the campus Hillel anymore. At that temple, I saw for the first time two women doing a Jewish naming ceremony for their newborn baby, seeing another couple barely holding their little boy back as he tried to run and yell after every shofar blast, talking with and meeting this wonderful trans duo and hearing about how they met, seeing them gush, seeing about how they made Judaism something special in their lives, finding a community that spoke to them and supported them. Again, I would love if you people in the chat would share their own stories of the intersection of queerness and religion. And I'd love people to share and connect. If you aren't comfortable with sharing, interact and offer encouragement to those who are. This has been in the works for almost 9 months now, although much of that time was fine-tuning what I wanted to do and getting in touch with the other people who helped make this happen. In August of last year, I got an email about an opportunity for a social action fellowship project through Valley Beit Midrash, who does incredible work to help those in need across the Arizona Valley. I don't think I was really expecting how much they were going to like my idea. I feel like I did get a little bit of imposter syndrome there. But my first contact, Eddie, loved it and believed in me. Every month we have group Zoom meetings and with the other fellows. It really kept me accountable, knowing that I would have to share my progress and talk with others. I also wanted to thank those at Valley Beit Midrash, especially Hannah Prager, for helping me on this journey. And I want to thank the Elie Wiesel Foundation for funding this project. I feel so grateful and humbled that a foundation that does so much good in the world saw the good in what I was doing. But on the art side of it, I've curated 2 other exhibitions before this and learned a lot along the way. But I felt something truly different and special with this group. The art and artists you will see today have such beautiful, joyful, whimsical, gut-wrenching work, and it just let me know that this is exactly what I needed to do. It's very vulnerable to share the art that you've poured your soul into, and it reminds me of a sentiment in Psalm 133. Hinei Ma Tov Umanayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. This encapsulates the spirit that inspired this project. It's a reminder of the beauty that emerges when we come together as a community, embracing our differences and celebrating our shared humanity. I've seen firsthand the power of art to spark conversations, challenge perceptions, and foster understanding. It is my hope that this exhibition will serve as a catalyst for meaningful dialogue and reflection. May our time together be filled with curiosity, understanding, and compassion as we explore the art and the stories that have been shared with us. And for the rest of this time together, we're going to be hearing from some of the artists that are part of this exhibition. And I will go ahead if Sahar, if you want to share. Oh, I will start sharing my screen for the PowerPoint real quick. Give me one moment. I did do a dry run of this yesterday. But now cannot seem to find it. Okay, it's a big green button. I totally did not. Okay, beautiful. Can you guys see that on your screens? No? Okay.
No.
Beautiful. All good. Thank you for being patient with me.
We can see that.
Okay, beautiful. Awesome. All right. Sahar, do you need anything else from me?
Nope, just personing the slideshow. So
Sounds good.
thank you.
Take it
Hello,
away.
everyone. I'm Sahar Barakat. It's the conveniently unisex and also a translation of what my Korean name would have been. Here's my contact information, and my 10-second elevator bio is that I'm a multidisciplinary artist, writer, and mixed race Jewish witch. I'm coming to you live from the Ohlone speaking Amamutsun land that's in Central Coast, California. And I am a queer Jewish artist. I found out about this because my cousin sent me a message saying, hey, you've got to send some stuff in, but don't do anything else new. Just do what you already have. So I said, thank you very much, and immediately made some new things. Next slide, please.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. There we go.
Like these. I've always been really interested in what my insides look like, not in a metaphorical sense, but like, what do my organs look like? I've always felt like a biology textbook and things like that just aren't quite enough. I want to know what my heart looks like. I want to know what the dissected insides of my eyes look like. And I also really love the magical, creepy, like stuffed alligator hanging from the roof, kind of apothecary feel of magical things that are just a little too realistic. And for me, it seems really obvious to pair, well, what part of my insides, what just too realistic thing looks like what texts and the canon of Jewish writing, where we keep writing things and we never throw things away. And even when we throw things away, they actually just get stuffed into a special box. And then one day we'll pull them out again and find what people were talking about hundreds of years ago. So the image on it's on my left, I think it's on your left as well, is the only quote from the Torah that I can consistently remember. It's justice, justice you shall pursue in order that you may live. And the white is very specifically a bone color instead of a like stark white. And I put that on top of the heart because that has traditionally been in Jewish thought where your wisdom and your emotions come from. You don't necessarily think with your brain, you think with your heart. And even today, we still say that people need more heart. And the Hamsa is my own skin tone, which is why it's the color it is, and my own eye. And the text comes from Ve'ahavta. And I really am fascinated by the idea of the Jewish soul being tripart, because I know I have a soul. I don't know if any of you know, and that's not my business. That's a you problem. My soul is a me problem. But I know that my soul lives right behind my sternum. And it seems so natural to me that, of course, your breathing part is your soul. Next slide, please. And then continuing on with the breathing, I've got the Waskow quote: "What the trees breathe out is what we breathe in. What we breathe out is what the trees breathe in." The lungs in particular seem to me like a very underappreciated part of the body. And here they are. They also, when you look at them, they do look like trees. I've exaggerated it here. And the pelvis has, in a Fibonacci spiral, a phrase from Tanit. And there's this idea that there are 3 keys that only God holds. And that's the keys of reign, of birthing, and the resurrection of the dead. And that comes up a lot in birthing contexts. I also work as a doula. And so this idea that only God can really decide when a birth is going to happen is, there's so much there that I don't even know where to start. It also connects to just the sheer Christian normativity of Western medical systems, because people with uteruses aren't cishet men. We still don't really know how birth starts. So as far as society is concerned, sure, God starts a birth. Maybe it's hormones. We don't really know. Next slide, please. And this last one, I have to thank my Havruta for helping me figure out what part of our body connects to this. This is the Twilight People Prayer by Rabbi Reuben Zellman. I think a lot of queer people are familiar with it. If you're not, it's this idea that we are all sacred and wonderful and B'Tselem Elohim. And just because we are not stark night or stark day doesn't mean that we are not just as wonderful. And I was trying to figure out, well, how can I do these stars and also trees, but also I really love mikveh. And my Havruta suggested that neurons are probably the way to go, or the entire nervous system. And we got into a good bit about how if we are just the universe experiencing itself, we are neurons within the cosmos, and the cosmos isn't us, and we are also all made out of stardust and the blood and the like fiery things and the depths. Oh, it was really wonderful. And so that's why out of all of the lines from Twilight People, I chose this particular quote and as the last piece of my art. I hope that in the world as it is right now, in general, we all strive to suspend our certainties and soften our judgments and widen our visions. Next slide. So if you liked those, please feel free to purchase stickers or postcards and send to your friends. There's also prints available. And if you are interested in more things, the next two things that I'm going to be at are also free of charge. I run a book club where we are reading The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. It is apparently very popular and recently released. So I hope to talk with some of you about it. And I am also going to be facilitating an event for the Ma'im Haim sponsored mikveh conference, which is free for attending in person and low cost for attending virtually. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to hearing what the next person has to say.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I am going to, if we could have Devin Spear talk with us, if you're available.
I am available. I'm here. Hi,
Okay.
dear hearts. So good to be with you all. Just taking in all of that Torah. Hmm. Where to begin? Well, I am Devin and am comfortable with either Hebrew or English names. So Hebrew names are Chaya, Ariel, and the origin of this conundrum of my life that fuels my art kind of comes through my names. And having these two names given to me as an adopted, surviving, queer, almost homeless, always in the margins, but feeling the center sort of person has formed the basis of my life. And you have the Chaya part of me, which is striving and upward and seeking and looking out and heavenward. And the Ariel part, which is maybe the angelic part, but is also very earthy and rooted and curious about the cracks in the arc of our covenant, and the stories that we're told that aren't really ours, but contain something from the generations. So I discovered a few years ago that I was an artist. I was bedridden and could barely do much else. And through this, I came to sort of understand a piece of theology that I had kind of been chewing on for about a decade beforehand. And it was that religion, in communicating boundaries, is also inviting crossings across complicated spaces. And in this moment of liminality in my life, when I grew um, unable to move and struggled, and all I could do was let words pour out. Um, what I noticed is that how I understood my names changed. You know, there was the life-givingness of the earth that was pouring out of me, and of the banality of being sick and of almost dying, and of like just being in the world as I am. And then there was also this not quite heavenward push, but this understanding that the angels can be around us. And I had this encounter of being sick where an angel was beside me and revealed themselves through this moment. And that's when I discovered that I make amulets, but I don't do it traditionally, so to speak. I'm so interested in protection that invites all the pieces of ourselves, the pieces that we don't talk about or are valued. And I'm interested in the Mishkan, in the portable dwelling of the places that are most high and the lowest parts of ourselves. And so, cross reverence and irreverence, I create spaces for boundaries and religiosities to form, and transgressive crossings of our deep spirit and who we are knowing ourselves and loving ourselves into be can take form. So that's me. I make amulets. And I want to move to the next slide so you can actually see things. This is just information about me, but I want you to see what I do. I make public art that I place in community in relationship to activists and community groups and support systems and networks of mutual care. So the first piece that you'll see is it says, "You are welcome here." And there are three variations of this sticker, of this amulet of protection, where pieces of it talk about, Gazans, you are welcome here. Arab identified people, you are welcome here. Palestinians, you're welcome here. And then there's another piece of it that says Jewish people, you are welcome here, Israelis. And there's actually three variations of this same sticker, but they're all separate houses. And when you kind of put all three of the stickers together, it looks like houses on the same block. And so back to the notion of mishkan, of dwelling, but also, getting the schmutz of the desert inside of us. I'm interested in the ways that art and Judaism can transmigrate across boundaries and shift with the presentation of people who are us and aren't us, so that the desert is with us and beyond us. And our stories that we are telling are constantly enshrouded by the mystery of knowing others who aren't us, while seeking our true deepest selves in the world. There's art that I make that's a little bit silly, but I'm curious about how to be able to understand what it means to just put on tefillin and try it, to be in a flirtationship. That's the queerness of it. There's the working class pieces about quote me, cite me, b'shem umrah, and not just as a teacher, but to know me as people, as non-binary, as queer. And so much of my art is about challenging the notion that candlesticks and Maimonides and maybe just the kind of arcs that people are used to looking at and towards are actually in us, that there's these structures of portability and motility and mobility that are unfolding. And that just as, we are, in this created structure of Judaism, this dwelling place, we are creating the dwelling inbuilt by our growth, our knowing, and our becoming in this world. And so I write that every stranger is a neighbor you haven't met yet. I count ancestors as being not only from Sarah or Abraham, but from Hagar and Ishmael, in the midst of difference, finding ourselves in others. And then I make silly hot sauce art that says we're a hot Mashiach. So there's lots of pieces. Yes, our our mish our mishpacha, our family, ours, yours, ours. The next slide I want to share. I'm just going on here. I'm just so excited about everyone's art, and I can see your faces. It's lovely just to be with you all. I want to take things that are given, like seltzer and everything bagels, and I want to turn it inside out so we don't throw anything away, as Sahar was saying so beautifully. Um, and I want to be able to combine that with culture and knowing and seeing to shift things about family. So instead of going to the adage that was repeated to me as an adopted child, blood is thicker than water, out of this adoption trauma that I suffered, I went to seltzer and I found something different. In flowers and remedies and stories, I found microdosing Shabbat. And in that little everything bagel that is just everything all together at once at this moment, I found genders that were just a blur. And I think Judaism speaks to these places of mishkan, of dwelling, and of being an artist that creates this dwelling that is at one part honoring something that isn't us and beyond us, but also that uses all of the parts that we've been taught to throw away. And I want to move to the next slide to show you a bit about what I mean. I like to take images that are primal and difficult. So let's take Baba Yaga on the right and make it fashion. So you have these particular fashion shoes that are at one time aggressive and hard, but also soft and pink. And I like to wonder what it means to go back to the forest and the wilderness and to all these images that we have of these of stories and of things long gone and of people long gone, and then try them on. So I want to put on the chicken legs and see what that feels like, you know. Um, I want to take the Pastor Niemöller quote and turn it on its head. If they come for you, my answer is actually no. So that as a Jew, I'm not just the other, but I'm facing the other. And panim el panim, I face God. I'm interested in the sounds of words, how abracadabra sounds like Abraham and Sarah, of these ancestors that were between these two rivers, and Ra, transgressive. And what happens when you call that into public space as an amulet of protecting queer people, to speak from the Torah. And above all things in my art, I believe that in the bounty that art, to love art is not just my creations myself, but to love artists. So I celebrate and witness all the art that I'm going to be able to be with today with each of you. And I witness you each all, in all as fifth children, you know, pouring from a different cup, from your cup, for all of creation. And I'll move to the last slide now.
Oh.
Oh, that is the very last one. So I'll just say briefly, one of the most amazing parts of making amulets is realizing that I don't have to necessarily take the generational inheritance and just put it on and make it mine, but that it's possible across many different boundaries to migrate ritual practice, protective ritual practice, into content, whether it's social media or memes or t-shirts, that actually, by their being in the world, the space that they take up Jewishly can shrink evil, can strengthen and enlarge and repair the powers, and can untangle the web of human existence for good. Because the blessing, the amulet, and the protective force comes and is generated from each of us. So I turn it to everyone else, and I bless you all, fifth children, and your art, for teaching me and making us.
Thank you so, so much. I absolutely loved hearing you talk about your work. Putting all of these together in the exhibition, uh, I looked at it a lot and trying to sort them and put all the information together. And hearing the backstories behind them is really, really beautiful. Um, and then I'd like to call Miriam, if you are available.
Hello, everybody. My name is Miriam. I'm originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, though now I live in Sacramento, California. I studied chemical engineering at the University of Southern California, so art definitely isn't my career choice, but I like to make different types of art just to help keep myself sane. And I'm an amateur writer, video game developer, and composer. So I publish under the name Yareya, which I got from one of the Hebrew words for moon. And to just go into some of the works that I have up there, Maria Lou Makeup is an idle clicker game that I made where you play from the perspective of somebody who starts their own pyramid scheme, and like you try to get money and like buy different types of advertisements and recruit people to sell your products for you so that you can try to get rich quick. And Still Waters in Memoriam is about the player character cleaning out the house of a deceased relative and finding out about their life story. And that was made with a group of people, and I suggested that we should make the family Jewish. So one of the flashbacks is about like a traditional Jewish wedding with like the bride and groom under the chuppah. That's something I like to do, where if I'm making something with a group, I try to include the Jewish community within it as representation. And then the game Coffee Break on my itch.io page is about a barista who recognizes signs of domestic violence in one of their regular customers, and it's set during the holiday season, so I made electronic versions of both Christmas and Hanukkah songs to go along for the background track. And then, sorry, 1 second. And then the game I Don't Have a Queue is about an autistic theater nerd and a makeup artist realizing that they have crushes on each other and admitting their feelings. I personally am on the spectrum, and I got diagnosed with that in college, so that's something that I also try to represent in my work. And then can you go to the next slide? Okay, so for the exhibition, I submitted a poem, which I guess I can read out now. The poem is titled Arc. There was no rainbow in the sky the night my constant storm began. There was no rainbow in the sky when puddles muddied my life's plan. There was no rainbow in the sky when raindrops dampened my resolve and my foundation dissolved. There was no rainbow in the sky when my raft finally sunk down. There was no rainbow in the sky when floods reached even the high grounds. There was no rainbow in the sky when I saw no shelter around, and I felt like I would drown. He promised to calm the storm and to quell the winds and to cease the downpour. Are my tears not a big enough flood to be worth drying up? I built an ark to brave the stormy seas when they failed to part for me. I built an ark out of my shattered dreams I know will never be. I built an ark without any help this time, and though I'm not sure when, I know I will rise again. My ark is strong enough to bear the weight of many souls in need. At least for now, my ark is only big enough for me. My ark will crush the waves that block my way, and though I'm not sure when, I know I will rise again. So for the poem, my thought process was that I wanted to incorporate how the rainbow is a symbol in both Judaism and the queer community. And I've always been a fan of the story of Noah's Ark and how God actually did destroy the world once and then kind of made the retroactive promise not to do that again. I just think that that's like really ironic. And then I also incorporated a reference from like my name, both my English and Hebrew name are just Miriam, and how during the story of Exodus, she's the one who like leads the Jewish people out of Egypt after the like God parts the seas. So I also incorporated a reference to that just because it's literally my name. Uh, yeah, so that's my poem. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Not a question, but I just wanted to say when I first read this poem, I was just taken like uh, mm, like I had this pain in my chest of how emotional it was and how beautiful it was. And while my fiance was making dinner, I had to read it aloud and share it. And I just wanted to tell you how wonderful of a job you did and how beautiful it is.
That really means a lot. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you so much for sharing. We have Sasha, if you are available to speak.
Yes, hi. Thank you all for making this a really beautiful, safe space, and Nadia for arranging. My name is Sasha Silverman Hanks. My Hebrew name is Imuna Et Dora. Um, so I'd like to do a bit of a talk about LGBT plus Jewish photography. So my chosen media and what I submitted was photography for this exhibition. But it really helped me kind of go on a journey trying to see how other photographers have also displayed this. And I'm quite excited to share this with you. But yes, so a bit about me. So I'm a 31-year-old nurse. I live in Nottinghamshire in England. I've been shooting and experimenting with 35mm film photography for over the past 13 years. My work ranges from portraits to landscape, and with a focus on street art and marginalised communities. I'm very personal when it comes to showcasing and documenting my photographic portfolio and journey. In 2023, I was published in multiple zines, Up Magazine, and Small Fowl Photo Festival in collaboration with the Photographers Gallery in London. So I identify as Jewish and queer. I'm keen to showcase representation in my photography and have been exploring different ways to showcase the culture of people who identify as Jewish and are part of the LGBT plus community. In 2015, I had the opportunity to live in Tel Aviv for 3 months, which sparked my interest in this topic as I was immersed within the Jewish queer community. My submission is of a drag street artist who is actually performing right by Carmel Market, which randomly happens to have a bunch of ultra-Orthodox rabbis passing by. But unfortunately, you can't see this in my photograph. But it's just a memory that lasts with me as I found it to be such a juxtaposition. Next slide, please. In other images, I've explored this topic across Tel Aviv, Manchester, London, and what I've internally been trying to decide is how best to represent Jewish queer culture. I decided to research for inspiration to see how it's been done by other photographers. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to now share that all with you today. Next slide. So, Chloe Sherman was raised a Reformed American Jew and had a strong curiosity for queer identity, and many of the photographs in the series center around butch and femme identities. This powerful image is called Kindred Spirits, which was shot in 1994. It's taken from a photo series called Renegades, San Francisco, the 1990s. This photo was taken at a Passover Seder at the Bearded Lady Cafe. This image captures 2 of Chloe's friends who had been working on a short film called Bad Jews in My Kitchen, and the photo was used first as the cover for their film. It received international interest, inspiring people and also causing controversy at that time. Next slide, please. Judah Passo. Judah Passo is an American photographer based in London. He works on assignments for America, Europe, and Britain, and has been published in the New York Times and The Guardian. He's a winner of 4 World Press Photo Awards for his coverage of the conflict in the Middle East. This image comes from the photographic series No Place Like Home, displayed at Jewish Museum London in 2012, then at the Manchester Jewish Museum in February 2024. Passal's series is not a direct focus on being Jewish and queer, but he does capture a tender moment of a gay couple dancing at the end of Simchat Torah service at a liberal synagogue in West London in 2010. Passau embarked on a year-long project examining the rich diversity of contemporary Jewish life around the UK, exploring what it means to be British and Jewish in the 21st century. With access to a wide variety of community organisations, cultural and religious institutes, private homes and personal moments, Passau created a unique series of direct and personal images. And he also was able to do a series in 2017 exploring Scotland's diverse and complex Jewish community, from the Shetlands to the borders. Judah quotes the philosopher Abraham Joshua Herschel when asked the reason behind his photography. He says, "A Jew is asked to take a leap of action rather than a leap of thought." Next.
Oh, next slide.
Yes, please.
Oh, so sorry.
Thank you. So this is the work of Michael Liani. Michael is a Moroccan-Israeli photographer, video artist, and art lecturer who lives and works in Tel Aviv. He has won several awards, including 2 from Israel's Ministry of Culture and Sports, the Kaviv Festival, and the International Photography Contest at Paris College of Art. His most recent project is called LGBT Love. This archive shows Israeli-Palestinian LGBT plus love in all forms, and unfortunately, including those who experience discrimination. Michael describes his process. "I wanted to carefully step into their home, into their life, and have the most authentic experience. I photographed each couple in their own home, which were also open and kindly shot everything on film to capture these authentic moments." I really recommend looking through his photo book. There's quite some interesting images of the LGBT representation within the Israeli army as well. Next slide, please. So this is an artist called Yishay Garbask. Israeli-born artist Yishay now resided in Berlin and is an interdisciplinary artist who works in the fields of photography, performance, and installation. She identifies as a lesbian Jew, and her main field of interest is trauma and the inheritance of post-traumatic memory. She also works on issues of identity and the invisibility of transgender women. In her project Becoming, Yishay explores her own body and the changes in her body 1 year before to 1 year after her own gender-affirming surgery through the creation of a human scale zeotrope, which is a cylinder with vertical slits down the sides, and once spun, there is a clear image being revealed. Becoming was also made into a flip book, which was published in 2010 by Mark Batty Publisher. The project was also included in the Busain Biennale 2010, and she was awarded the Berlin Women Filmmaker of the Year. So these are a few kind of photo books that have really inspired me. The first one that I owned was called What Does a Jew Look Like? And it just has these really stunning portrait shots of people and then a description of their own journeys of what it means to be Jewish and queer, their own struggles with their identity and the battles, and also addressing like the stigma and the discrimination. But also like the beauty and the celebration as well. There's a few other photo books I've written down as like recommendations and places for inspiration, especially some of the artists that I've discussed today. And I'd be really interested to hear if you know of many others and which ones are your favourites. Yes, I will leave it there and just say if you want to see some more of my work, it's being shared in the exhibition. And thank you very much for this space. And
Thank you so, so much. If you want, I can email everyone the PowerPoint slide after, so you can kind of take some time and look at these photo books. I really love that you gave us resources to look more into.
Yeah, absolutely. That's completely fine. Thank you.
I am going to ask Hillel if you are able to. I know Hillel said that they might not make it. I don't think they are here. They are somewhere where there is not, but we can look at some of their stuff. This was I believe in California, a large mural. I was made as intended. This really struck me. I felt like it really coincided with the B'Tselem Elohim, I'm made in God's image. This is exactly who you are supposed to be. And there's no one that can take that away from you. Unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot about their story, but we can look at some of their beautiful things for now. And then, if Sebastian, if you would like to speak.
Hello. Hi, I'm Sebastian. I've not ever done anything like this before, so I apologize if I seem a little nervous. I am. So I am from Florida. I live in Alabama now. I am transmasc and also disabled due to chronic illness. I have a dynamic disability. I'm a part-time wheelchair user. And I wasn't actually raised religious at all. That's something that I really appreciate my parents for, because they allowed us to kind of explore that once we felt comfortable to do it ourselves. And my sister and I both, me definitely more so than her, started to explore our Judaism once we got a little bit older. And for me, that coincided very much with when I did come out as trans, and when my disability kind of started to affect my life in a more constant day-to-day way. Um, and so all three of those things, I think, are what I really try to explore in my art. It's the pieces that I have in the show aren't on the slide, but um, with those three things together, I feel like it's kind of given me a way to express my journey with all three things. Because I still feel like, even though it's my disability specifically is something that I've dealt with my entire life, I'm still at the beginning of my journey for accepting that, and even in some ways accepting my trans and queerness. And I've been extremely lucky because of being disabled. Most of the Jewish communities that I've become a part of and participate in are online communities that are a little bit more outside the norm. I consider myself a humanistic Jewish witch. So those are the communities that I find myself in, and they've all been so accepting of me on my queer and disability journey. As far as my art itself, I tend to do primarily watercolor and acrylic. With those two things, I kind of have a very different style for both of them. My acrylic work has a lot of big shapes and big colors, and my watercolor work tends to focus a lot more on symbolism, almost dipping a little bit into surrealism. But everything I do has extremely saturated colors and a little bit of symbolism I put in everything that I do, because of how important my journey in Judaism has been to the other parts of my life. I I also play a lot with movement. I grew up in dance, and that's something that very quickly I was not able to do anymore once I reached the part of my life where disability was more present. And so finding ways to translate that into art and into the ways that I express myself in my art and my religion is really important to me. But yeah, I love color. Color and the symbolism that comes with color is very important to me because I have certain mental health struggles that cause me to quite literally not really experience the world in the way that a lot of people do. So I try to portray that through color and symbolism. But yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. And it looks like Hillel has joined. Hillel, if you are ready. If you are not, just let me know. And we can move to someone else in the meantime. I know we're a
Oh, hi. I
little...
wasn't expecting to quite yet. But hi, good to be here and see everybody. Sorry, I just were on our way back. My husband and I have a toddler, and so had to get him back home, and it's been a tricky morning. So I guess as with many of you here, as an artist, I wear a lot of different hats. One of the things that I do is large-scale mural projects, and one of the things that I find most meaningful about it is the way that it allows me to mark Jewish spaces out in the world. And so this is not just work that I'm doing small at home and hoping to get into a gallery, put online, but this is things that are large and exist out in communities and allow people to encounter them, and hope sometimes people are looking for them, and sometimes when they're not expecting to see it. It's meaningful for me in that there are so many other communities, ethnic communities, religious communities, who are using street art as a way to mark space within the cities that they live in. And this is a way for me to claim Jewish space in Jewish areas by having work that is visibly Jewish. So this is a mural outside of a bakery in Los Angeles, really a couple blocks from where I grew up. The Hebrew says Hamotzi Lecha Min Haaretz, which is the blessing on bread, which I thought would be a fun thing to put on the back of a bakery. This is for me specifically about place. So I'm not just putting up Jewish content, but how do I make work that is interacting with the physical environment that it is, referencing either the community or the building, who owns it, their personalities. It's been really a pleasure of mine to be able to not just do this in my own community, started doing this locally in LA where I grew up. And then since then, being able to travel around the world and bring this kind of joyful, vibrant expression of Judaism to all the places that I go. So if we go to the next one, this is at the St. Paul JCC in St. Paul, Minnesota. This is the front of the building facing the street. This part of the building had been defaced with anti-Semitic graffiti a bunch of years ago. And with all the chemical solvents that they tried, they never could manage to get all of it off the brickwork. And so this is about 2018, I think, figured we can't get this off the brick, so why don't we not just cover it up, but replace it with something even brighter and more exciting that hopefully can also reflect the values of the community. So the JCC's 3 core values are Kavod, Kehila, and Lador Vador. So respect, community, and from generation to generation. Working with this modular bright alphabet, you can see the 3 values written in Hebrew in the design, which leads into this outstretched hand welcoming people physically to the front of the building, to train this thing into a point of welcoming to bring people in. If you've gathered so far, one of the things that I really like working with in my design work is typography, and bringing in specifically in Hebrew that is, I think, more than other kinds of iconography, a form of kind of common Jewish visual that brings all of us together, is trying to depict Jews, like as people in the murals, can be complicated because Jews look lots of different ways, and you want to make sure that things can be inclusive and not leave anyone out. And I think this allows me to think even bigger of this is so broad that this can include all of us because this is all of our shared heritage. And it's also fun that I think can prompt people to read in a little bit more into what the content is, try to practice their Hebrew a little bit. I like working at the very edge of legibility. And so having people think about, I know there's words here and I'm going to stay here and try to focus on them and try to read it, I think allows people to engage with the work for longer than they would if it was more legible. Because if it's more legible, you read it and you move on. But if it forces you to engage with it, then you're looking at the forms, you're paying attention to it, and hopefully you've had a nice little experience working with this art. You can see that I really like working with bright colors. And the next one, I think, is one of the brightest pieces that I've done. So now, can you do the next one? Oh, so this is also in LA. This is a giant mural. It's in the Hebrew, it says Shasani Kirtzono. In the English, I was made as intended. The location of this mural, this is in a place called the Melrose Alleys. Melrose is, and has been since I was a little kid, a kind of a counterculture neighborhood. And this is where I used to ride my bike to go to the comic book shop as a kid to buy Spider-Man and X-Men stuff. And these alleys are probably a dozen blocks long and completely covered in graffiti and street art and brightly colored work. And this is one of the first places that I encountered this as a medium. And this also happens to be at the intersection of West Hollywood, which is one of the main queer neighborhoods in LA, and also one of the Hancock Park next door, which is also one of the most Orthodox neighborhoods in LA. There's a bunch of both shuls and schools, not just schools, but cheters. This is a very firm Black hat neighborhood. And I was approached by the building owner, said, we have this really long wall. This wall is about 90 feet long. And we just put this up, and I've seen your work and I would love you to think about what you could do here. And so I thought about, oh, this is the intersection between these two different communities. How do I do something positive with this work? And so I loved the idea. Shasani Kirtano is this blessing that was originally said by women. So men say in the morning, during the morning brachot, thank you for not making me a woman. And the female flip of that is Shasani Kirtano, who made me as intended. And I thought, well, what if I flip that? Like, that's basically, I was born this way. And so if I turn this into a blessing for queer identity, I think that's really positive. And this is a message that I think both communities will understand and hopefully find powerful and can be a bridge between these two groups of people. So this wall is 90 feet long and about 8 feet tall, and I think might be again, the largest queer mural in Los Angeles, which is a fact I'm very proud of. This piece was fiscally sponsored by JQ, which is a Jewish queer organization based in Los Angeles. And they loved the piece so much that if you go to the next slide, they've used this, asked me to then readapt this image. And so this has been their honoree gift to the people that they honor at their gala brunch for the last, I guess, like 2 years. And then just quickly, I'll show you some the other stuff that I do that's on a much smaller scale. This is a project called Parsha Posters, where every week for a year, I sat down with Chumash and read the Parsha and tried to think about how do I take these stories and turn them into a visual format in a way that's resonant to me. So not just biblical illustration, but how do I take a graphic design influence and use typography where each piece has the name of the Parsha integrated in Hebrew in the illustration itself. So how to work with typography and minimalism and to create a very new visual format. So you can see there's a few on the front and on the big inset on the side is from Pinchas. So this is the daughters of Slofchad all coming together, and you can see the letters with the different colors, and I'm trying to bring it all together. The next one, and so this is it's on my website. You can find me. I'm pretty easy to. My name is Hillel Smith, so I'm very easy to Google. So to find more about me, just look me up. The next one is a kid's book that I did just after I had a kid and was looking for stuff to put up in our own house.
So sorry.
Oh, no worries. So this is a little thing where I did an alphabet poster where for each letter of the alphabet, tried to put make the animal into the letter. And so it started as a fun activity. I figured, can I do the whole thing and put up on his wall? And I really liked it enough. So now I've self-published it as a little mini book that I've been sending out around. And then the last one is just some random posters. If I have an idea, I want to execute and see how it goes. So on the left is another queer-oriented piece. This is Kulanu Ka'echad. So these are text from the end of the Amidah. So all of us is one. Using some bright rainbow colors, which I like anyway, but here has extra resonance. And the entire thing is made up of tiny dots. And I like this idea that it's only when you kind of zoom out and you see the individuals as a collective that really we are all one people together. And then a funny thing, also keeping on the theme of brightly colored and rainbow colored pieces. This is my take on the "In This House We Believe," and then replace it with the text of the song about the coming of the Mashiach. So in this house we believe, if you know the song, you can like have a little dance part in your own head. And so for me, this is all about taking Jewish text and Jewish thinking and Jewish iconography and turning into something that is bright, is fun, has a contemporary aesthetic to it, and that hopefully will brighten people's day and have them engage in Jewish text and in Jewish culture in a different way and hopefully in an unexpected way.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing the backstory to all of this, and I just feel so grateful that I was able to get in touch with all of these amazing artists.
Thanks.
Of course. I have Luke, if you are here and available to speak.
Hi, yes. Thank you, Nadia, and thank you, everyone. This has been so wonderful to hear, and I think everyone's on the same wavelength, which was really, I was loving all the Hebrew, and as you'll see, that's something that I'm interested in as well. This is also sort of my first time sharing my art publicly, so I'll do my best to try to be as eloquent as everyone else has been. But so welcome to the Soulscape. My art is very much, I'm seeking to dissolve this material realm and look into the spiritual realm, look at the soul. And like my hope is that like if people could start doing that more, we wouldn't have so much war and all these things. We could just see like the beautiful, brilliant light that's at the center of all of us. And I'm also have been really in love with Hebrew from a very young age. I'm a Jew by choice, and I converted, I think in 2021, but when I was 10, I was fascinated by the Hebrew letters. So it like sort of was the nexus of a lot of things for me. And next slide, please. So some of my inspiration is through Kabbalah as well as through science. So I'll read this quote that I put here. The Holy Torah was, in its original form, an incoherent jumble of letters. In other words, all the letters of the Torah, from the beginning of Genesis to the end of Deuteronomy, were not yet combined to form the words we now read. The letters were jumbled until a certain event occurred. As soon as something happened, the corresponding combinations of letters came into being. If another event had occurred in its place, other combinations of letters would have arisen, for know that the Holy Torah is God's infinite wisdom. This is Pinhas of Koretz, a student of Baal Shem Tov. And when I read this, for me, it just like gave multiverse like vibes or like the collapse of the wave function. My background is in, I have a master's in material science. And so I've done a lot of studying of quantum mechanics. And so I'm really actually more, I left the sciences because I was like, I needed to expand a little bit, but I'm very much interested in the metaphors that science provides us and especially the metaphors that we can kind of adapt to trying to think about what the soul looks like or how we can imagine divine potential. So you can see the Kabbalistic tree of life is a metaphor that I use a lot and reference in a lot of different ways in my art, Hebrew letters. And then I have the Schrodinger equation and the collapse of the wave function. I think this was an AI generated image that I found. But it kind of captures my inspiration that I get visually when I'm thinking about some of my art. And if you want to go to the next slide, please. And so this is just kind of the array of the things I'm working on. So I have soul forms, which you'll see one in the gallery. But these are, I imagine, like our souls are these potential energy fields. And each of us are born with different aspects that are well defined and some that are underdefined. And so part of, I think, the tikkun hanefesh, the healing of our own souls, is recognizing those potential energy wells that we have. And how do we sometimes there are ones that we fall into that we don't want to fall into. So how do we take ourselves out of those wells? And then there's some wells that we want to develop over our lifetimes and build forward. And then the portraits of the Hebrew letters. I call them portraits because I honestly think the Hebrew letters are so beautiful. The Hebrew letters are like these really mystical aspects of Judaism. And, when it says that, God spoke and let there be light and the world came to being, that we use our words to create the world around us. So I've been working on this series. You might see some of the ones I have behind me still that I'm trying to get these backgrounds for. But for all my Hebrew letters, I also write poems about them after I'm done, because why not? And then I did a visual Torah study. This was when I was going through my conversion process, and similar to I think what Hillel was doing, I was taking each parsha and putting it out there how I interpreted it, and I really only focused on natural scenes in Genesis. So there's no humans at all. It's all about nature. And then I just started, this was my first and only so far, but Shavitis are meditation devices. And so I made this one recently, a Yud Hey Vav Hey meditation device. That's another, I'm very interested in that name of God. So you'll see that in some of my art as well. And next slide, thank you. And so, yeah, and the quote that I had was love yourself, or love the art in yourself, not yourself in the art, which is a Konstantin Stanislavski quote. And sort of something I've been working with this year, working on building self-love. And so I thought a good place to start was loving the art that I have in myself. So, and I just wanted to highlight a few of the communities that I'm a part of here in the Denver area that have been really formative for me. I work at Judaism Your Way. I'm an adjunct faculty member at Kabbalah Experience. So if you're interested in Kabbalah studies, I teach classes on tarot and Kabbalah, as well as astrology and Kabbalah. And hopefully I'll be having the tarot and Kabbalah class this summer. And all of these communities are accessible virtually as well. So I just wanted to highlight them. And then I was a part of the Hinei Fellowship, which I suppose more people who are involved with Keshet are familiar with it. But if you're not, it was a wonderful leadership development program for queer Jews. So keep an eye on that. I had a really wonderful formative experience going through that. And I'm working on a website, thesoulmanifold.com. That is kind of going to be a repertoire of my art and poetry, and hopefully start selling things, which I'm working on trying to make prints. But if anyone knows how to make prints or wants to help a new artist, I would absolutely, I need some help. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity to share my art and some of my thoughts. So thank you all.
Thank you for sharing. I do know I get my business cards printed on Canva, and it's actually pretty reasonably priced. I would definitely recommend it. And it's very
I
easy.
just did that too. I didn't know it was possible, but
It's
the
really
things you find out.
Yeah, so we just have two more artists. Thank you guys for sticking it out. We have Huck, who has these beautiful lino cut prints that just make me so happy. So if you are available to speak.
Yeah, hi all. I'm Puck. My pronouns are they, them. Ani mishtamesh hu bivrit lo shalem, aval ze beseder. So I am a rabbinical student at JTS, and I started a community in Fort Worth with a close friend of mine, Cantor Sherry Allen. So we have a new synagogue in Fort Worth that is like hecka gay. It's also heck of a lot of other things that are inclusive. But like that's what I do outside of my art space. And Rabbi Ribbit came from a need to like disappear and encompass both of them. Like rabbinical school is hard, and we think a lot. And sometimes I really just wanted to like, what would happen if I was like Jewish and thought less? And this is what would happen. Rabbi Ribbit would happen. So this is a small selection. There are currently 12 prints available. They range from 4 by 4 inches to 8 by 10 inches. My largest one is a representation of the 4 children, Rabbi Ribbit as the 4 children. It's delightful. I really love it. I'm putting in the chat where you can go see some more of that work also. My community first, because you know, I really am proud of my community, Makom Shalanu, a place for us. Boxes of Rainbows is where you can find prints, etc. I'll talk, well, that's a thing we can't see yet, but okay. And so Rabbi Ribbit is just like a non-gendered little frog that does Jewish stuff. Rabbi Ribbit is the like religious side of Judaism, but Rabbi Ribbit has friends, Rav Rabbit and Cantor Katz and etc. And so Rav Rabbit is like your just like Jew, but we might say like Jewish type of person that really just like wants to eat hamantashen and stuff, right? So like we get both sides. Rabbi Ribbit eats bagels and lox on Saturday mornings. So there's both sides. I have more Rabbi Ribbit now than others. But yeah, so you can see we have Rabbi Ribbit makes challah and does Shabbat is the bottom left. Rabbi Ribbit reenacts parting the seas. Part 2 of that is coming as for Shavuot, where Rabbi Ribbit walks down carrying the tablets. Rabbi Ribbit does tashlich, you know, our ritual after Rosh Hashanah is that middle top. Rabbi Ribbit reflects, Rabbi Ribbit with the Torah. So there's a lot of them. There's new ones coming. Also, Rabbi Ribbit protests is a new line I'm doing as well. Rabbi Ribbit raps, which will be like, think Rosie the Riveter, except with tefillin and a lovely little headband. I'm very excited about some of them that are in the works. So yeah, this is my like push back on having a little fun. If you want, I have like prints, obviously, greeting cards, even little stickers. They're really cute. If you like need something for your water bottle, you can grab them there. Really, I just fund myself making more art. So that's how I am able to pay for me to continue to do the things that give me a break from vertical school and hopefully bring a little bit of whimsy and joy. And shout out to like my family and my Makom Shalano people who came to support me this morning. I appreciate y'all. And it's also lovely to like be in the space of so many other people doing cool Jewish art things. So I'm very honored to be with y'all.
Thank you so much. I just seeing your work when you submitted it, I was so happy. And that's why in my introduction, the whole reason I added the whimsical adjective was because of Rabbi Ribbit. So thank you so much. And we have our last speaker, Ricky, if you are here.
Yeah, hi. I don't know how it works because I signed up in the Google Doc too late. So are they on the slide or no?
Let me check. They are not.
I have them on my phone if I could just show it up to the screen if that's okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop sharing, and if I can, I'm gonna bring it up if you want to talk, and I'll bring it up in the meantime.
So I was like born in Chicago, now live a little bit outside Chicago. and I'm Orthodox. So I feel like, yeah, there's like it's very hard to be Orthodox and queer because, you know, there's a lot of pushback against that. But I think it's really important to not only highlight spaces that are accepting, but to also highlight the Jews in spaces that aren't accepting, and to like call attention to those people who might be struggling and who like have to like find their way. Maybe they will go away from orthodoxy, maybe they won't, but it's just, it can be really challenging to be in these communities. But I personally love being Orthodox, and it gives me a lot of happiness. And yeah, I'm queer, Jewish, disabled. Yeah. uh so the first two of my works um are their vent art. I was in a bad headspace when I drew them. They're not explicit or anything, but they kind of just encapsulate my emotions. And so the first one, it's sorry, it's like kind of like the moon with flowing hair made of dust and hands obscuring its broken face. And I feel like that kind of encapsulates what it feels like to yeah, sorry. What it feels like to be like queer and Jewish in these very unaccepting spaces, because you can feel like you're broken, but when you look at your heart, it's glowing with warmth and light, and like it's B'Tselem Elohim. uh and the second piece is called Obscured, and it's like also vent art, but it's like an eye that is surrounded by color. And it was just kind of just, it was something that just felt right. And once again, it's just the Tselem Elohim. Sorry, next slide. If,
Um, so
or
sorry.
I could, yeah.
I did it out of order.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, this one, I actually made this one for a class, but um if you could, it has the Hebrew words I, yeah, that mean in each generation each person is obligated is to see himself or herself uh, as though he or she personally came from Egypt. And that, I think, is a wonderful metaphor for freeing yourself of the things that hold you down and like oppress you and make you feel unhappy and unwanted. And so I drew a hand reaching up and being held down to the earth with like violets. And in the sky, there's a moth, because I really love bugs. I'm gonna be an entomologist. Uh, I'm 16, but I'm gonna be an entomologist for sure. And so I drew a Luna moth in the stars. It's a constellation, and it's just there, and it's, you can look up and see the things that give you hope. And this one also has Luna moths, and it's called Metamorphosis, and it kind of encapsulates the whole world, because at the bottom there's the sea, there's like a squid, and as it goes up it turns into a flower, and as it goes up it turns into a moth. And it's like the water, earth, and sky all together, and they all come together to create a triangle, a bit a diamond that is like change and becoming your coming into yourself as a queer Jew. Yeah.
thank you so much. My heart feels warm. I loved hearing you talk about your work. Yeah, I said it before, but I felt so close to these pieces because I spent so long formatting everything, and um I just love hearing more about your guys' experiences, and goals when creating your work, and my cheeks hurt from smiling, and I'm just so happy that I was able to share this space with you. Thank you all of you so much for joining this.
Wait, sorry, I have one. I have
Oh,
two more.
so
Yeah.
sorry. Continue. Then I'll
Wait,
do.
I have one more thing, and then I also have something that I made. Well, it's like this is something I made in art class. It doesn't have a lot to do with being Jewish, but sorry, do you have it on there?
I do not think so.
Yeah. So it's called Den Name. It's just basically like a staircase, and there's a little kid at the top of the staircase reaching out, and its face is crossed out with a little smile, and it's like your Den Name. It feels like it's a little kid who used to be you, and it can be really hard to connect with that and feel like that person is part of you. But I mean, I feel like it's kind of something you can't just ignore if you are trans and you have a dead name. It's something you kind of just gotta make terms with and learn to love your child self. And one thing, this is not actually a submission, but I made it at a Keshet Shabbaton last week, and it's an amulet. It has red string, and something I absolutely love are tzitzit. They give me so much happiness and gender euphoria. So I made one of them a tzitzit, one of the strings a tzitzit with little charms representing like faith, Yiddishkeit, Torah, mitzvos, because the pomegranate represents mitzvos, and it's like a tzitzit, the number of loops, and then on this side it's the evil eye, and there's 7 knots here for the avot and imahot. There's 12 knots here for all of the tribes. There's 1 knot here for Hashem, and then there's 10 knots here for all of the 10 commandments. And I just really love protection in that way, that it gives me happiness. So yeah.
And I was able to pull up Dead Name if you guys would like to look at it.
So yeah, it's a little creepy, but it's like a little kid.
I feel like that is a feeling that like the relationship you have with your younger self and who they are. I think that's very powerful. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. Also, I didn't want to cut you off. Do you have anything else? Okay, thank you so much. I wanted to say that there is going to be a recording of this available. I won't include the chat just in case there's any, or like the people who joined, just in case there's any safety concerns. But I will send you guys the link to that afterwards, and I will also send the link to the slides so that you can look at those resources that our lovely artists shared with us. And I just wanted to say thank you again. This was a passion project that has been in the works for so long, and I feel so honored and special that all of you guys came and I was able to bring everyone in one space and hold beautiful space with you guys. Yeah, does anyone have any questions or just wanted to say anything else? Sahar says, thank you. How can we keep abreast of your future projects? I think something that I'm kind of putting in the works is I really want to maybe broaden this out a little bit and maybe create a B'Tselem Elohim newsletter that keeps queer Jewish artists to share in what they're doing, opportunities. It's like a very niche intersection, but I think that would be really beautiful. So definitely that. And yeah. Very beautiful art. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And yeah. Thank you, T. I really, really appreciate it. This was part of the Elie Wiesel fellowship, which I was blown away that I think I did feel a little bit of imposter syndrome because of a lot of other people's project was providing a medication to the homeless or other things. And I think I was honored and surprised that they loved my idea so much. And I just feel so grateful. Anything else before we disconnect today? And I just want to say thank you so much again. Yeah, again, my cheeks hurt from smiling, and I'm just so happy with all of you. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I hope to keep in contact.
Thank you. Bye.
Of course,
Thank
bye.
you.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.